Hello everyone, Will here from Beacon Models, and today I'm going to be showing you how to put together our laser cut 1/72nd scale RAF Dispersal Hut. This kit includes 2 sheets of 1mm laser cut MDF parts, 1 sheet of 0.5mm birch veneer fittings, a sheet of clear plastic glazing and some resin details. The first step is to cut out the parts to form the internal structure of the hut. You can see the part numbers needed on the screen. Use a sharp hobby knife to cut through the tabs holding the parts onto the sheet. It's safer to use several passes with the blade, using only a small amount of pressure to prevent the knife from slipping and damaging the parts or injuring yourself. Use a file or abrasive pad to deburr the parts and clean up the edges. Here I'm using a medium grit pad from AK, which leaves a smooth edge quickly. All these parts are now cleaned up and ready for gluing. All the parts in the build will be prepared the same way. Now you can start gluing the frames together. You can use super glue as I'm using here, or a wood glue if you feel you need more working time to fit the parts together. I'm using a small engineer's square here to make sure the frames are positioned properly together. This helps get a neater and more accurate fit. With the frames glued together, the roof section is finished. The roof on this hut can be removable if you don't glue it to the walls later on, if you'd like to add some interior details. With the roof frames completed, you can move on to the interior walls. Again, I'm using an engineer's square to make sure everything's lined up properly. If you're using super glue, a good trick is to apply a small amount at the top of the slot and allow gravity to fill the gaps. Glues are absorbed and dry very quickly in the MDF material. If you want to, you can also fit the interior doors into the doorways now. The upper frame will provide some rigidity and structure to the interior walls, and it'll also make it easier to locate the exterior walls later. Now it's time to assemble the roof. You start by cutting out the main panels. From the sheet of veneer, you can now cut out the felting battens, as well as the trim that fits to the apex of the roof. Next, all of these roof details are assembled. You can use a pair of tweezers to help you locate the felting battens. This is tricky and time consuming, but well worth paying attention to. I have to admit, I got a little bit impatient here, so I ended up using superglue instead of PVA. This does risk sticking fingers together, but it does speed up the process quite a bit. Once you've repeated the process on both sides, you can now assemble the whole roof. Take your time with this stage, as it's quite important to get the roof line on straight and everything aligned properly. This will really make a difference to the quality of the finished model. Having practiced these small veneer part fixings with the roof, you can now take on the sides and other details of the walls. Before you do that though, a nice finishing touch is to cut a strip of masking tape and fix it to the apex of the roof to fill the joint. I use Tamiya masking tape for this. Trim the ends off with a knife, and then you can use a little glue to seal them so that it won't peel off during painting. Some of the battens were loose even after gluing, so I used a little PVA just to seal the joints. Next, you can cut out the exterior walls. Apply some glue and then fix on the doorsteps. In the same way, you can now fix on all the sills to the windows on the exterior walls. Once that's done, you can now glue the vertical battens onto the side walls. The vertical battens of the end walls have angles at the top that follow the roofline, so pay attention to the direction when you're gluing them on. Next, you can glue all the inner window frame veneers to the apertures of the exterior walls. Follow those with the frame that surrounds the chalkboard. Now that the inner frames have dried, you can fit the architrave to complete the windows. At this point, you can also fix on the door frames. Final assembly of the walls can now begin. Start by carefully gluing the side walls to the interior frame, then glue on the end walls. To complete the roof assembly, you can now glue on the eaves. There are laser etched lines to help you locate the parts. Test fit the roof. It should be removable and fit snugly if everything's gone together straight. The The resin stovepipe detail can now be attached to the roof. Finally, you can assemble the table. This is quite straightforward. After that, you can add duck boards if you like. And with that, your RAF Dispersal Hut is complete. Before you paint it, I highly recommend giving it a coat of sand sealer or matte varnish. This will prevent the paint from soaking into the wood and you'll get better coverage. To glue in the clear windows, you can use a little PVA glue just spread around the inside of the frame. You can also add the scramble bell detail, but as this is quite fragile, it should probably be a finishing touch and the last thing you fit. I used RAF dark earth and dark green enamels to paint this, and photos of huts in the period of the Battle of Britain show a camouflage pattern on the roof but not the walls. I hope you enjoyed this build, and I'm really looking forward to seeing your airfield dioramas. Why not complete the scene with our 1/72nd scale officer and pilot figures, and we also have a few resin vehicles too. Give us a like and a subscribe if you found this guide helpful, and we'll see you again soon in another video. Take care.